Getty. Mr. Rees-Mogg said any future payments must be limited to standalone projects. Mr. Rees-Mogg, who leads the influential European research group, said any future payments must be limited to standalone projects, such as scientific and educational cooperation schemes. He said, "We need to be very careful about being in the budget discussions. If you are in the discussions, is there a risk that you begin to take responsibility for decisions and then you find that you get a bill at the end of it? People want to clean Brexit. Once we've left the European Union, we may be involved in the Erasmus program or something like that, but that will be a standalone issue to which we will contribute a set amount of money we are not interested in, and we have no standing with regard to the EU's total budget. That's a matter for them. People want to clean Brexit. Once we've left the European Union." Jacob Rees-Mogg, Downing Street, sought to play down the significance of an invitation from the 27 remaining EU states, which the European Commission is said to be also angry about, for the UK to take part in discussions on the next multi-annual financial framework for 2020 to 2027. Britain is due to leave the bloc next March and finally break away after a transition period ending at the end of December 2020. Theresa May's spokesman said the UK was ready to discuss future financial contributions to individual programs, but the overall budget was for the remaining EU 27 to hammer out. The spokesman also hit back at negative briefing from Brussels officials about progress in their talks with the UK. The last week, one senior EU official accused the UK of chasing a fantasy in its approach, while chief Brexit negotiator Michel Barnier compared the process to a game of hide-and-seek. The spokesman said, "We need to approach these discussions with the interests of our citizens at heart. That means focusing on holding constructive talks inside the negotiation room. We also need to be constructive outside the room, which means looking beyond sound bites and negative anonymous briefings." Meanwhile, Revenue and Customs Chief Executive John Thompson came under new pressure over his claim last week that the Brexiteers' favored solution for future customs arrangements, using technology to keep cross-border trade flowing securely, would cost nearly £20 billion. Cambridge economist Dr. Gaurav Gujin, who co-founded the Briefing for Brexit site to promote the academic arguments for leaving the EU, and Labour Leave chairman businessman John Mills, said the HMRC figure was hugely inflated and shoddy calculation. In a joint article on Briefings for Brexit, they said, "The Treasury and HMRC have taken to presenting hugely negative calculations of the economic impact of Brexit without formal analyses that can be checked for accuracy. This must stop. We fully expect that HMRC's wild forecasts will also be confounded by reality." Billionaires battle to stop us leaving. Billionaire financier George Soros said yesterday a campaign for a referendum to keep Britain in the EU would start in days, even though he believes the bloc is on the brink of collapse. Mr. Soros, best known for breaking the Bank of England by betting against the pound in 1992 when Britain crashed out of the exchange rate mechanism, is a critic of Brexit and has reportedly helped fund pro-Remain group Best for Britain. In a speech at a summit in Paris staged yesterday by the European Council on Foreign Relations think tank, he said, "It is no longer a figure of speech to say that Europe is in existential danger. It is the harsh reality." He then suggested that Britons had not yet conclusively decided to leave and said Best for Britain would publish its manifesto in a few days. He said, "In the meantime, the EU needs to transform itself into an association which nations like Britain would want to join." Later, MP Jacob Rees-Mogg was asked if he would back a second referendum. He said, "We had the biggest democratic exercise in our nation's history. This result must be respected and implemented." Financial markets tumbled at the growing political turmoil in the EU's fourth biggest economy. Italy poll is vote on X for the euro. Italy is braced for a new election that could come as early as next month and drive the country out of the euro. Financial markets tumbled at the growing political turmoil in the EU's fourth biggest economy, amid fears that repeat elections will become a proxy vote on whether Italy should keep using the single currency. The country has been trying to establish a new administration since inconclusive elections in March. President Sergio Mattarella finally named former International Monetary Fund of CIAL Carlo Cottarelli as stopgap prime minister, until a new election could be held. Political sources said there was now a chance the president will soon dissolve parliament and send Italians back to the polls.